Welcome to another episode of HIPE Stories, the show about high-impact Pinoy entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs who dream big, scale up, and pay it forward here in the Philippines. I'm Manny Ayala, and on the show today, we have Ronald Robbins, or as his friends call him, Roro. And today we're going to see how Ro took his passion as a professional video gamer to build Mineski, a leading player in eSports and casual mobile gaming across Southeast Asia. Welcome to the show, Ro.
Thank you for having me, Manny.
How are you doing today?
Very good.
Hopefully more awake than me because I'm suffering still from a little bit of jet lag because I just got back from San Francisco for this really cool event we did in San Francisco, bringing together the Pinoy diaspora to try to encourage them to do stuff in the Philippine ecosystem over here.
Endeavor doing cool things as usual.
Yeah, well, hopefully, we'll see whether some of them kung kumagat sila, right, to try to do things here. Anyway, I thought we would start today by going to the very beginning and let's talk about dreams, right? What was your dreams? Or what were your dreams, rather, when you started to think about this crazy idea to start a business?
Well, when I started to play when I was young, I grew up in a province in Cebu. And it actually didn't start from a dream. It started more of as a frustration.
Tell me.
Than thinking about creating a business.
Saan ka na-frustrate?
Well, in the provinces like Cebu, we always get least amount of attention in regards to games and tournaments. I used to participate in Counter-Strike tournaments back then. We would play StarCraft. And Manila would always have their string of activities na kinaiingitan.
Wait, sandali. Di ba college ka nung gamer ka?
High school pa lang.
So you started with high school. Okay, so high school, Cebu.
Yes.
And you're frustrated. Okay, got it.
So when we would go to tournaments, parang ang pangit ng standard, they would do it just for the sake of doing it. And it would be qualifications to Manila and all. So as a probinsyano, I saw it in a way na buti pa sila. Kami wala naman nangyayari dito. It's very familiar. And a lot of people actually resonate that even though it's not in gaming, even in other sports, may that be other like physical sports. And when I moved to Manila in 2003, when I started college in LaSalle, the game that was famous at that time changed. It became DOTA already, a game from Warcraft.
Yeah.
And I started to form a team with 4 different buddies of mine in LaSalle, all from different buildings. One was ComSci, one was political science.
Freshman pa lang nag-team ka na?
Yes, we were started to play already. And since we were in Manila, so ang daming tournaments. So halos every weekend, we can play already together competitively. And then we eventually played against the Atenistas in our first tournament. And they had imports pa. They had Koreans.
Okay.
And the first time that we played in a tournament together, we won a team. That akala namin, sino ba to? Ganyan. And everybody looked at us like, who are these guys?
Sandali, you know what grade school I went to, diba?
Ateneo.
Oh, syempre. Wait. So, nanalo kayo, walang daya yun, ha?
Wala. So, little we did we know, that was a Sunday. That was in LaSalle. There was a cafe there. The day before, Saturday, the team that we beat was actually the champion the previous day.
Oh. From what school?
Ateneo.
Okay.
I still know them until today. They're close friends. And, it was a beginning of, that was when the dream started. Like, nananalo tayo dito. Mukhang magaling pala tayo dito. May laban pala. So we ended up traveling around the Philippines. Going, at that time, that was a offline game. LAN game yan eh. So you would have to travel to play against to figure out who's the best.
And at that time, you would have to play in an internet cafe.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes. And in these internet cafes, ang hirap. No? It's very difficult for us to play properly kasi yung mga configurations, yung mga PC.
May lag siguro, no?
Wala naman pag LAN game. That's the good thing about
This
LAN.
is LAN. Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes, meron pa rin because luma nga yung PC. And we eventually won 50 over tournaments in a span of a couple of years.
Wow.
And there came World Cyber Games, which is a internationally organized tournament by Samsung in Korea with more than 60 nations battling it out for that game.
You played in Korea for this thing.
There's a qualification for Philippines first. We got our first break and then we became the Philippine team.
Wow.
And then we traveled around to compete. Thailand, Malaysia, and a lot of other places where you have to compete with the best of the best.
Do you remember this was your junior year or senior year in college?
2006, 2007 na to. Senior na ako at that time. Because when we started, ano pa lang.
Wow.
We were just going around. And yun, as I was traveling around, most of the times when we would play overseas, lagi kaming talo. And then I was figuring out, anong meron? Ba't mas magaling sila? And then I started to see their...
Which countries were particularly good? Korea siguro magaling.
Sa DOTA 1, si Korea late pumasok.
Oh, okay.
So we had... our rival was... There was a strong team from Indonesia. There was a strong team. Malaysia was always consistently top 3.
Okay.
Thailand, minsan... Parang Philippines. Minsan meron, minsan wala.
Okay. So back to your question. Bakit nga, right? That you guys would always lose.
When we learned the way that they trained and disciplined the whole process of running the team was very different. We were kids playing games. They were paid to practice. No? And there comes the next question, like who would pay a team to practice at that time? And nalaman namin, so there's this internet cafe brand in Malaysia that actually is doing business really well, providing them with very, very good facilities, to which was non-existent in Philippines at that time.
Yes.
And then I saw, gawin na lang din natin to sa Philippines. If there's a business that can support what we're doing, this is the perfect scenario, no? So it doesn't need to come out of my pocket feeding the team.
Yeah.
So I then approached, at that time, wala akong pera. Nag-approach ako ng mga friends of my dad and said, hey, you wanna invest? Nag-invento lang ako ng investment scheme nun, which was, you can get all of your money back. I won't get anything from the dividends. Once you got your investment back, you would share that to me.
Ano yung split?
At yung first ko pa nga, 80-20 lang.
80 sila.
80 pa rin sila. 20 pa rin. Wala pa rin.
Ang bait mo naman.
At that time, invento ko lang yun. I didn't really have like advisors.
Yeah.
Our family business background were 100% family owned. So I cannot, there's no person to ask that time.
Wait, so why did you go to your dad's friends as opposed to your dad for help?
Oh, they don't believe in the business. My family, my parents did not invest in that.
Brick and mortar yung family business niyo.
Trade, importation.
Import niya. Okay.
So, that was the sad part. Sabi, yung mga ganyang business, hindi kami mag-i-invest niyan. So,
wait, so you asked your dad before you asked your dad's friends?
Of course.
Okay.
Maliit lang na pera at that time, ang laki na nun. Diba? So, for us to start our first cafe, we like split into 5 kasi ang laki.
Yeah.
Sabi, hati tayo sa 8 million. Paano ba to? Sige, hatiin natin ng tas kanya-kanya tayo hanap ng investor. Tapos buuhin natin para matayo natin yung first ever. So, that's how we founded our first cafe business. Yeah. That's when Mineski became a business. Because at first it was just a team. That was 2008, May of 2008. Yeah. I was already past college at that time. 2007, part of 2008, early that year.
At that time, meron ng internet cafe, di ba? Tulad ng Netopia and all of this, right? But you were different. Di ba? How were you guys different?
We solved the problem. So, first of all...
For gamers.
Yes, for gamers. We solved the problem. Because at that time, internet games were already getting famous. The design of the cafes, even being 24 hours, we were first.
Yes.
No? Because we had issues in the past where we would play tournaments. Tournaments would be, at that time, DSL internet ang pangit eh. So we would play and set our tournament like 11 p.m. and so on, so that we'd get better latency because people were already sleeping. Tapos masasaraduhan kami ng cafe kasi nga hanggang 12 lang sila. So magmamadali kami, matatalo kami, papatayan kami ng computer. So sabi ko, kailangan natin ng sarili nating pwesto, hindi tayo uunlad nito. Meanwhile, our competing international counterparts, they had a very good place to do all of what they need to do, training together. Yun yung na-identify ko na issue at first. It was access to facilities that we had to solve. So we then invested in top of the line and the most expensive computers that you can buy. First 24-inch LED screens 2008. Medyo saucy ka naman, naka-flat screen ka. Quad-core kami noon, Intel. 2008. That's like, what?
Ano mga fully loaded?
Loaded
NVIDIA, all of that.
115 stations lang, we invested 8 million pesos.
Oh boy.
And that's how loaded that was.
Okay. And then at that time, isang venue lang kayo?
Isa lang. Sa tapat lang ng Lasal. So, after that, we then started to promote the cafe in a way where we just wanted the best of the best to really practice there. And at that time, kasi there was a ban from our team to participate in a tournament locally because we were kind of like sure win daw. So, pag may nandiyan kami, hindi, bawal kayo sumali. Ganyan. Pwede ba dalawa lang sa amin? Ganyan. Hindi, bawal pa rin. Isa lang. Ganyan.
Sorry, who was making these rules?
The local organizers, other internet cafes, bandang Mineski. Ganyan. So I was like, napakahirap naman ito. So we then showed them that we're here not because we just want to keep on winning, but we really want to grow the sport. So we hosted our first ever tournament called Mineski 101.
Yeah.
And the rule of thumb there was the 5 players that were really, really strong at that time were the marshals for everybody else to join. So we were non-participating, but we were still there and making that experience. So we did shoutcasting, we did a projector screen, so there's a viewership experience. Sa ending nagpalechon pa ako eh. Nagpadala pa ako galing sa Cebu.
So you look at that as a separate business line?
At that time, it was like,
or ginawa lang ninyo?
Kailangan lang siya. Kasi parang, ang pangit nung mentality ng organizers that we had to change. Kasi, how can they improve if they ban the best team?
So, hindi pa siya negosyo at that stage. Your business was really the cafe.
Yes.
And then you organized this, I guess, in a way just to stimulate the community.
Yes, we were solving that problem na how would they improve if they keep on banning the best team?
Yes.
And our goal was also, we should have rivals. Pag wala tayong kalaban sa Pilipinas, stuck tayo.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be better.
Yeah.
So that's when it started, when we started to host tournaments. No, Mineski 101. I think that was like May 30, 2008 or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 15 years ago na pala yun. So that's how the event started, and then it eventually blew up, no? So Mineski grounds was very much sought for. That a Cebuano came, taga Cagayan de Oro. We were starting to franchise the business left and right. There was a time we were constructing 20 stores at the same time. This was already like 2014, 2015.
Wow.
And dito yung nagiging namin experience naman when we started to, at that time we thought we were actually scaling, no? Because we were growing so fast. We were using technology. We had very high-tech diskless systems, where the units doesn't have hard drives anymore. Centralized kami. Our POS, our billing system, we got our own that allowed users to actually go to multiple sites using one account. Cloud system na kami noon pa, like 10 years ago. And having all of these things all together, when we reached our peak, 2018, no, we had 140 stores in 4 countries, more than 1,500, close to 2,000 employees. And our turnover was like 1 billion pesos a year.
Which
already at
countries
that
were
time.
those? So Philippines plus.
Philippines had 100 stores. Malaysia had 20.
Mm-mm.
Thailand had like 3, and then Indonesia had 7, which we just started there 2018 for Thailand and Indonesia. Malaysia, we started earlier, 2012.
Okay, so that's part of your scale up story, right? Because you can scale up, right, in one place by having more stores or by having different lines of business. You can also scale up geographically.
Yes.
But how did you as a business person think about, okay, solid na kami dito, now it's time to do more stuff in more places. How did you think about that? Kasi yung original vision, right? I'm gonna solve the problem of wala kaming, I don't know, venue to practice. We don't have other people who are magaling to practice with, right? So you have the internet cafe, then you had started to have the tournaments. Okay, and then how did you think about scaling it up?
We, as we grew on 2012, it was more of we were being sought for. People were clamoring na, kailan ka mag-open sa Davao, sa Jensan, open naman kayo, ganyan. Walang ganun dito. No?
So nationwide talaga kayo?
Nationwide talaga kami.
Soon
Like,
after...
I've been everywhere. Sulit na sulit yung pagka-Bisaya ko. I've been traveling a lot during those times. And even to your question, going out of the Philippines, what made me think, it was still the same. People were asking, hey, how are you running eSports?
Yeah.
Because at that time, we were already running tournaments every month.
Yeah.
Our goal was every store we opened would start with a opening tournament, and every month that outlet would run its own tournaments.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that we were running hundreds of tournaments every month.
Yeah. And by then, that had its own business model na. Kasi
Yes, there were sponsors
nag-umpisa kayo,
already.
diba? It was really just to stimulate the community.
Yes, and we were capable of running Southeast Asian championships already
Okay.
for that game.
That's an advertising-based model, right? Sponsorship and advertising.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the suppliers of our hardware were actually the most keen because at that time we were somehow being there's new competitors spurring out, and basically the internet cafe industry was growing so fast that the demand for the hardware increased.
Yeah.
So whatever Mineski would use, they would buy
Correct.
to compete. Diba? But through our sponsorship business model, which was actually, we are just utilizing the resources to grow esports. No, it wasn't really a profit center at that time. It was a marketing department.
Yes.
No? So that's when I take a step back, 2018. Sabi ko sa partner ko, para ikaw na mag-asikaso ng itong Mineski Infinity.
Wait, Infinity is the cafe.
The brand, Mineski Infinity.
For the
Yes.
cafes.
Yes.
Yeah.
To infinity and beyond. And we had like more than 10,000 seats, man. 4 million members with
Grabe.
cards. Even up to today, I would still see people. By the way, if you're listening to this one and you have a card, please keep that. We have a surprise for you next year on the 20th anniversary ng Mineski.
Wow.
And
My gosh, 20th na pala.
20th.
Oh my gosh. Congrats
kasi
in advance.
2020 to 2004, 2024.
Yeah. Lapit na.
And yun, where was I? Sa cafes. No? So in 2018, I then saw already a lot of changes because in 2017, 2016, we were already hosting like world-class tournaments, packing up stadiums like Mall of Asia Arena.
Yeah.
And that was a very
Shit,
different...
you were filling Mall of Asia Arena?
Oh, easily. Paid entry pa yun.
Ilang tao yan?
Ang max kasi ng MOA is 18K, but because of the stage, we had like 12 to 13,000.
Yeah.
But around the venue, it's easily like 15 to 20,000 people.
Wow.
And when we first brought an international IP, ESL1, grabe ang wild na mga tao, Mari. I saw they're so happy. Imagine mo at that time, that was 2016. In 2006, di ba? Kami yung parang, parang tuta-tuta lang. Sali kami sa international. After World Championship, ang Asian Championship na tayo. That's 12 years after, ang World Championship na sa Pilipinas na. Tayo na nag-host.
Grabe.
So, there was a Filipino representative, and then the fans were crazy. To a point that we were called the best fans in the world sa DOTA.
Because?
The teams, as the tournament was already finished, the fans did not leave outside. until they can see the players ride the bus.
Wow.
As in, pag nandun ka, magu-goosebumps ka na parang, teka lang, 12 o'clock na ng gabi. Bakit nandyan pa kayo? Tapos syempre mga players ganadong-ganado kasi they were not received that way kasi. So at that time, sobrang sikat talaga ng DOTA. Like even myself, when I cross immigration, the immigration officer would ask for my picture.
Wow!
Yung mga casters natin na nagka-cast ng DOTA, kung pupunta ng Davao, dudumugin siya sa loob ng 7-Eleven na hindi siya makakalabas. Ganun kagrabe ang gaming. No?
And I'm in the presence of a rock star pala.
Well, the other day, we ran MPL. I was surprised that somebody still knows me. May nagpa-picture pa sa akin. Ako, syempre, dinosaur na ako ngayon sa Mobile Legends eh. Kasi pan-Dota tayo. Kailan pa yun?
Speaking of which, ano yung Twitch speed mo ngayon?
Wala, mabagal na kami ko. Man, dudurugin na ako ng mga ngayon. Ng mga 15-year-old.
How old is your, yung panganay mo? How old is?
My eldest daughter's 11 already.
Does she play?
She plays a lot. Kitang-kita ko man na kay
does she have a very good Twitch speed?
Mabilis. Trash talker din siya.
Okay, going back to so this whole idea of scale up, no? Kasi when you're scaling up a business, so there are three things you need in a business, diba? You need an actual market that's paying you. But then, as you grow, you need access to capital, access to talent, no? And at one point, you had thousands of people, right, across Southeast Asia. How do you, as a, somebody that went from LaSalle as a video gamer into this thing because you were, in a way, pulled by demand, how did you navigate that? That's not easy.
So what we do now, and I was thinking about what we had gone through. There are a couple of very important things first before getting into a business. One, is it part of your passion? And what's your purpose? Oftentimes, purpose is a light bulb moment na ting, teka lang, bakit ganito to? It can be better. Right? So, usually, when you're expert of your field, you are the one that can see the problem of your field.
Yeah.
Diba? So,
that's what you call a problem founder fit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, to your question, no, when you look at how to scale going through that experience, there are lessons that can only be learned after failure. There can only be so much guidance.
Yeah.
That, like our parents would always want to do na, wag mo na ulitin yung mali ko, and so on and so forth. But the thing is, it's part of human nature kasi to only learn it deep pag nasugatan ka. And that's just how you go. The more mistakes you make, the better you become. Because for you, it's a instant memory recall. It wasn't ano nga ba sinabi ni sa akin na lesson na about this.
Yeah.
No. So the answer to your question is how did I navigate? It's you just have to be fearless.
May mga advisors ka, mga mentors at the time. This is pre-pandemic, pre-pandemic. As you were going from
prior to joining Endeavor, walang advisor. You learn from your partners.
No, but you built something with over 1,000 employees.
Yes.
Diba? So you're just were you consulting people? Were you reading books or trial and error talaga siya?
Trial and error man. To be honest, pati Little Prince hindi ko natapos na libro. So I don't really read books.
Yeah.
Except now, I have a favorite book called 4 Disciplines of Execution. I read it a lot. Napudpud ko na yun. Kasi that's really, really important to navigate companies.
Who's that by?
Covey.
The Stephen Covey.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an annex to the 7
habits of highly
effective people.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one of my favorites, the 7 habits.
That's our group-wide operating system. For the listeners out there, I would strongly suggest that you would read that after reading the 7 habits.
In one sentence, what does that book help an entrepreneur do or think?
Think of it this way. You have a computer that is your organization.
Yeah.
Si 4DX, Windows yun. Operating system siya. Without it, you open up input a code on what you want to launch. Hindi siya it doesn't make it simple for everybody to say, okay, click nyo yung Excel, okay, ito yung Excel.
Yeah.
Because we have more than 15 nationalities in our organization. 7 countries are operating.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was very easy. Everybody can run their own style of management. But having that much nationalities and different cultures, you have to speak one language.
Yeah.
So that's our operating system.
Yep.
It's very hard to install. Huh? Very, very hard.
Yeah.
Persistence. Yung iba, nagko-quit dahil hindi nila kaya. Ganyan. So,
let's focus on this a little bit, right? Adversity, right? Kasi when you guys got into Endeavor, I remember it was the Istanbul, Turkey International Selection Panel. Kailan ba yun? 2018 or 2019 ba yun? Something like that, no? Basta right before the pandemic. Right? And you guys were flying high, right? On top of the world, all these internet cafes, the biggest parang events promoter right out there across the region. And then along comes the pandemic. Anong nangyari sa inyo? I remember, there was, a big recalibration.
Mahirap yun. So I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by partners, no? Because that's one of the lessons that I've learned from looking at our family business, where I mentioned earlier, it's 100% family owned. There's pros and cons to that. Control is family interests, which is very good, no? The con to that is they don't know how to work with other people of same caliber. Only people lower than them. Yes, it's just employees.
Yes.
No? So it doesn't kind of like open.
So it doesn't scale. Yeah. Kung ganun, right?
It's hard to scale if it depends on the business. Sometimes when you're in the right time, right place, when you own a lot of land and you were there in 1940s, you can scale even without partners.
Okay.
Right? But when you look at people kasi in this day and time, it's very important for you to learn how to be able to partner up. No? And that was actually the biggest savior during the pandemic. As I said, 2018, I transitioned that business. I focused on the eSports side of things. So we grew eSports beyond just events.
And
we did a lot
eSports,
of
just to clarify, is live, right? In a stadium.
Live, online, may technology din.
But at that time, a lot of it was live, diba? In a venue.
Yes, most of it. And here came the pandemic, diba? So,
right? Which had a big impact on both of your businesses,
both
right?
sarado, parehas.
Internet cafe as well as live tournaments, diba?
Correct.
So, ano ginawa niyo?
Internet cafe, again, I was lucky enough to have a partner. So, I didn't really have to address that matter. I was more advising them na lang than solving the problems. They had a really difficult time. Nakakaawa din sila. To a point na may dadaan sa office ko and said, "Sir, last day ko na to." Sabi ko, pati ikaw, hindi ako naniwala. Hindi ako naniwala. Ang tagal-tagal mo na, ang galing-galing mo, pati ikaw, wala na. Bakit?
Yeah.
So that was for the cafes. For the esports side, medyo agile kami. So we were hit with financial issues as well, no? Kasi stop lahat March, April, May, we're thinking 3 months lang to, meron na yan. So we made a very big decision within the business at first. We invested in a very how do I say, highly produced video of all online capabilities that we can do. We transformed ourselves from majority offline to online work from home production based. Like before, kung nasa studios lahat yan, yung mga talents, nasa bahay sila, nasa sala sila, naka-webcam. Hindi ko alam kung paano namin naabutan ng mga internet at webcam at ano yung mga talents na yun at that time. To be honest, magic na lang yan kasi lockdown yun We managed to run shows from different homes. We researched, we executed really fast. Cloud system, the broadcast, and so on. Most of the esports came to us. Then, in that year, 2021, na-double pa namin yung revenue namin from 2020.
Grabe. Wow.
Dahil sa online capabilities namin. There were times that we were running esports and lahat naka-PPE.
Yeah.
Pag may isa na suspected meron, lahat diretso sa hotel. Kanya-kanyang room sila doon, isolation. Like ganun ka-intense. And we, like for us, we didn't really care anymore about costs. More of safety ng mga tao. Diba? Sadly, there were some organizations that were not that vigilant. May nawawalang tao dahil tinatry din nilang patakbuhin. And I know the people that, passed away really closely. The mga talent din namin before.
Yeah.
And that was kind of sad. And coming the time when we were working with our innovation strategies, I sketched things on a tissue paper. Medyo nabalyo ako at a point in time, to be honest, Manny. So nagpasama ako sa wife ko. Sabi, ano gagawin natin? So we created 2 innovations during the pandemic. October of 2020, 6 months after. One project was a hardware-based. We created the GG truck. The goal was to decentralize... GG truck. It's a all-in-one truck, an entertainment truck that can broadcast, that can redistribute Wi-Fi, that can capture internet from 10 kilometers away and amplify the internet with an LED screen, lights, and sounds. It's like a mini event stage that we can just pop up. We're using it right now to do a lot of things. And our goal was that, events bawal, COVID. So, i-decentralize natin. Tayo ang pupunta sa barangay. Wag na yung mga tao pumunta sa event venue. Kasi, di ba, opposite yun sa So, that helped a lot in terms of transformation. And the other one was the online arcade. Ika nga, parang online time zone ginawa namin. So, we launched M Games.
Okay, so this was your first entry into mobile casual gaming.
Yes,
right?
yes. That was 2021 we launched. And now we have like more than 100 million games played, more than 500 million minutes of playtime.
Yeah.
We are live right now in Gcash. We are also the game provider of Viber. If you go to Viber, just type M Games, a chatbot comes out, you click, you can play casual games. Now we're already integrating with the Gcash of other countries in Southeast Asia. Viettel from Vietnam, it's a telco. True Money in Thailand, Touch and Go in Malaysia. And this big company in Indonesia, I forgot the name. Medyo local kasi. Anyway, there's like 80 million users there in Indonesia.
Wow.
It's a platform nila. And people can play games casually online with no download. So that's the strategic position that we have right now.
By the way, I have played those games.
Thank you. Thanks for supporting.
But so my conclusion from this is sometimes the best time to scale up is actually during a downturn. Tama ba?
Yes.
Was that intentional, or you just had to pivot and then you surprised yourself by how well these things that you pivoted to actually performed?
When resilient kasi ang mga entrepreneurs, Manny. Entrepreneurs usually they don't quit. No? So if you put them to a corner, like when you say a downturn, it's time to scale. Downturn actually challenges everybody and in their mindset. No? So it's more of a trigger of lumabas ka na sa comfort zone mo. Think again. As you did a decade or 2 decades ago. Start to think again. Use your brain.
Do you think this is like a psychological trait of entrepreneurs na ayaw magpatalo?
Of course. Competitive talaga dapat pag entrepreneur ka. That's why you want to start things because you want to make or get that feeling out of it as a win. It's oftentimes entrepreneurs succeed if they're thinking of making money and then they succeed. Usually it doesn't work that way. Usually, there is a problem and I will conquer this problem. Oops, kumita pala. Ganon yun.
Do you know what one of the famous quotes of the founder of Endeavor is? Si Linda. Her famous quote is, "When economies turn down, entrepreneurs show up." Right? Yun right? When things are looking pretty crappy, you say, how can we make something out of this? Diba? Ano yung opportunity nito?
Because more problems arise. And then entrepreneurs come to solve it.
If I remember correctly, it was during the pandemic, nag-raise pa kayo, right? The first time that you raised capital.
Yes.
Diba? Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
What were you thinking back then?
I think at that time, as I said, we grew our sales double, no? So it wasn't really because we were desperate for cash. At that time, parang, uy, grabe na yung roller coaster ride natin. Ano na bang, saan na ba tayo? Siyempre, some shareholders were there since the beginning, no, that supported me to grow the business. And I thank you, by the way, for those partners that still trust me until today in making the decisions for your investments. And yun, when we get to that point, it was really... Sorry, nawala ako sa thought. Ano yung question mo ulit?
It was just talking about how raising the funds.
So it was more of validation. For us, like we've been in that business for how long already? Like ano bang next step dito? Ganito na lang ba yan? Because one of the things that prompted us was when we closed down the cafes.
Yeah.
We weren't able to get out of it as if we sold something. We just literally closed it down. No?
Yeah.
From a very big turnover business, bigla na nawala. So, teka lang, paano ba itong iba? So, of course, start na mag-explore. I met you, and I learned a lot from the advice and all of the endeavor entrepreneurs. And na-realize ko, there's pros din pala dito. Kasi traditional businessmen or businesswomen would just go, if you don't need it, don't do it. No? But one thing that I saw was very important was when you open that door kasi, you are expressively telling everyone there's another layer of partnership that is open.
Yeah.
So, may that be a supplier in your industry, may that be a client in your industry. Pag nalaman nila na, oh, investable ka pala. Nag-invest na sa investor namin, sila Mizuho, bangko yan. Talagang i-check lahat ng kung compliant ka ba, and so on and so forth. Pag pumasa ka sa kanila, ibig sabihin, walang dumi.
Sabihin legit.
Investable ka. That's one. Two is that they would think of more moves.
Correct.
When they deal with you. When they deal commercial with you, yung iba nag-iisip na, sige nga, may pag-deal ako dito ng 1 to 2 years, mamaya invest na lang ako sa kanya kasi kailangan ko talaga yung part na to sa business ko. In the bigger scope of things. We also did buy and build. We also purchased companies because we knew na going through that process, we learned na, pwede rin pala na maging investor na tayo dito sa mga katrabaho natin na iba. So it's a two-way. No?
Yeah.
It's either people invest in you or you invest in others. So for me, that was like, uy, new weapon to Na gamer diba? May bago akong baril. Alright? So it was more of that. And then when we got the funds, we really pushed hard and hired like talent that we cannot access before. Our employees, we gave our employee shares as well.
Fantastic.
We had a program called Time Capsule where those employees that were there for a long time that wasn't at par in regards to the pay grade structure that we were supposed to give them for a long time, we gave them shares instead. And then we managed to issue ESOP. That was a very, very long discussion with the board.
Employee stock option program.
Yes, stock option program. So that allows us to actually bring everybody together to where we're headed. If the company succeeds, everybody succeeds.
Fantastic.
No? And that's very important because that's really what we want to do. Hindi yung sa amin lang. No? We want to really bring everybody there. So those are the benefits of fundraising. No? You open this box which says, new weapon. Be careful. Ganyan.
The way I look at it, right, is outside investors. If they're the right one, right, which is what we call value-added investors, you're getting their experience, their expertise, and also importantly, their network, right? Because very often they've been in business for many, many decades, right, and have relationships that can be helpful. We have a few minutes left, and I just want to talk about, I think, 2 more things, right? First thing would be what's next for you. Because when I look at you, it's almost like you've had 2 amazing growth curves, right? So from your time as a professional gamer, building the business and, really knocking it out of the park, right? That right around the time we met you at Endeavor. And then pandemic, right? And then going through that, pivoting, and then finding, oh my gosh, there's great opportunity here with this online concept and casual mobile games. Ano yung next? Because I know you have a few more things cooking, right, in the file.
Technology is definitely one of our biggest place in the coming years to come. What we have learned during the pandemic at that time, we did not really have the capacity to be a tech company. No. Because of the venture of M Games, we managed to build up that capacity.
Yeah.
So there are now problems that we can solve not just for us, but for others. Right now, we have a platform that allows digital innovation to the forefront of industries that are actually onto sustainable community development.
Huh?
Yes.
Really?
So for us, kung sa eSports, we managed to grow eSports using technology. Now we're working a lot with the other communities that are similar. In the past 90 days, ang dami naming ginawang K-pop, anime, sports,
Okay, so
rock,
specialty
music.
communities.
Yes,
Okay.
specialty communities. And most of them have the same problem, sustainability.
Wow.
Like, paano ba ang business dito? Can you help me find a sponsor? Or can you help me engage my audience? How do you do that in esports? You guys are like way ahead of us. We even started to broadcast golf tournaments, for example. Things that, the golfing community never saw before.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool.
So we are using both hardware and software
Yeah.
to empower other communities now. That's how we are looking at driving more impact beyond just gaming and esports.
Fantastic. Well, that leads naturally to my last question, right? About impact. So you're making impact in these communities, but there's also the kind of impact we talk about in Endeavor, right? Which is this idea of paying it forward, right? That what we expect is that once our entrepreneurs become successful, because we've helped them by giving them access to mentors, giving them access to capital and networks, we expect our entrepreneurs to do the same to the next generation of entrepreneurs. So maybe just as to close, talk a little bit about how that's sort of unfolding in your life now.
So even it affects what we do as a business and personally. As a business, I shared to you earlier what we're doing to also enable other communities to grow sustainably. On my personal standpoint, what I've learned, I'm the kind of person that learns better when I teach. So I spend a lot of time talking to entrepreneurs, friends of mine, speaking now in conferences, in sharing my experience.
Yeah.
I usually set up a disclaimer when I speak in conference na I'm not your standard speaker. I'm gonna speak as if actual experience to. I don't have like data slides to present to you, but I'll show to you the train of thought when this challenge came and what came to my mind.
Yeah.
So para ma-apply nyo rin. Aside from that, I have like friends that are really scaling right now that's asking me, hey Ro, what's the next thing that we should do? I also have real estate companies, relatively big ones, and it's funny that I'm advising them now because they're much bigger than we are, about transformational management.
Yeah.
And it's like it's so natural for me. Like I don't even feel like I'm like donating time. It's just like, oh, coffee lang tayo, okay na yan. No? I'm also like mentoring entrepreneurs, especially sa mga provinces.
Yeah.
May those be family or friends or people that I don't know. And the feeling is really good. You get to be in that position where you're helpful by just sharing your experience.
Yeah, that's it.
So parang hindi naman ako napagod doon. Parang exciting din. Because sometimes you also learn the other way. And it makes you realize, oh nga no, itong chapter na to at his time, parang I remember something like 5-10 years ago of what happened and so on. And it reminds you always that every day is a learning day. Even today, I still learn a lot every day in work or outside work.
I just want to say I'm so proud of you because even though you're from LaSalle, you're living the principles of an Atenean.
Wait lang. Ang high school ko kasi Sacred Heart.
Okay.
Ateneo de Cebu yun.
Anyway, listen, this brings our program to an end. I just want to thank you, Ro, for sharing your story. This has been great, right? And thank you for being what we call in Endeavor, such a high-impact entrepreneur. And I wish you all the best going forward. So that was Ronald Robbins, the founder of Mineski, Southeast Asia's leader in esports and casual mobile gaming. Thank you for listening to Hype Stories. To stay connected with us, you can reach us via email at hello@endeavor.org.ph. And you can follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. This episode was produced by Endeavor Philippines, a global community of, by, and for entrepreneurs, and shot at the Podcast Network Asia Studios. And I'd like to thank today our executive producer, Chelsea Sullivan, and our associate producer, Judge Kalimbahin, who's also in the studio. I'm Manny Ayala, and you've been listening to Hype Stories.